Earlier, I want to say last week, I showed a photo in the community post showing a scene I created in Unreal using Houdini engine and the HDA I created. And in this video, I'll be showing you how I did it, and we'll be releasing the HDA file for it. It's already set up. You can download Houdini engine or the Houdini plugin for Unreal, and then once you have that installed, you can install this HDA and it should work. Okay, well, I'm just going to do a quick breakdown on what I did. Just had a normal height field, then I added some noise to it. And if you see the perimeters in green, that's because um, I have the perimeters parented to a perimeter inside of the HCA asset, so you'll be able to change this inside of Unreal. So I added a base noise to the height field. The grid spacing is the resolution of the height field. And so right now I have it at 0.05, and that's to give it more resolution so you can see the small bumps and noises and give you more detail over the land in general. So after double click the wrong area. So after that, by height field noise, amplitude, and the element size is the frequency and the scale and offset. Then I converted it to a polygon because I wanted to convert it from a volume, which is right now a volumetric, to a polygon. So I converted it to a polygon and it kept the detail pretty nicely. And then after that, I just had a simple UV to the ground so that Unreal would know where to place the textures. And then a poly reduced version of the grid, just in case you don't want the high res, or maybe the ground has too much resolution, so you will want to get rid of some of that resolution. And if you click on it, the percentage to keep is also a parameter that you'll be able to change. So if you want 50% of the geo, then you can have 50, but if you want like 5%, you can also have that. And then I created a little dip using um, a point and a radius. Basically just found the range. If I show you, the values are negative, that's why it looks like this. But you can see I found the radius at which I would like to affect, and then brought it down based upon the radius from the point. So the area near the points is the lowest point. If I ghosted that, you can see the dip more clearly. So the point is right there. And the area around it, the closest around it, is the furthest point down. And then it slowly falls off the further away you get. Okay, so if you would like that, that is there for you. And then I created a grass attribute to spawn the grass points off of. And I can show you what it looks like in the color. So a random noise that you'll be able to change. And then I created a switch that you can use to choose whether or not you want to use the ground with trees versus a ground without trees. Ground without trees will just be the noised up ground, but if you would like the ground with trees, then there's a little function going on down here that increases, okay, the color should not be shown, but it increases the, let me see, the little areas you see pulled up right here, it increases the height of it based off of the distance from each instance geo. So you can have that natural blend or a hill that you see at the bottom of every tree or anything that's like put into the ground. It usually has some type of breakup around this area. So I added that in, and basically, whenever you add a tree, the ground would change based off of that. So you have that for the ground. And I have a simple process, deleting geometry based off of the grass attribute I created over here. I found that deleting the geometry first and then scattering the points allows you to get more full volumes or more densely packed points because it's not spreading all over the geo, it's spreading in the areas that are selected based off of the grass attribute. And here I'm randomizing the scale. Anywhere from 0.2 to 1 is the scale range, but you can change that. And then I'm adding some more variation to the scale with the grass variation. As you can see, I create the attribute here and then I use that to change the scale or multiply the scale with the overall scale and the grass variation to give it a more random look. And maybe you like the randomness of the look, but you want the grass to be like a tad bit bigger. So that's why I added the overall p-scale. And the p-scale is an attribute that the copy to points we use to determine the scale of the instance mesh. So you can see if I click that, so you have a randomized look. One thing I found is that you want to make sure the proxy geo that you have is close or similar to the size of the asset to give you a better visualization. I changed the scale because the grass was a lot smaller than the initial box that Houdini gives you. I changed the scale. And I basically did the same thing for the trees. Only thing, yeah, a few difference made. Culling the area so it only has really up facing areas that it can choose from. And there's another blast. Same thing, tree variation. Well, that has the same name. I will fix that because I think I'm using that's supposed to be tree variation, so we can fix that real quick. Mm-hmm. And let's go down here and just use that. I had it as Unreal function for this as well, but you really don't need it for the trees or anything large scale. It pretty much works one to one. But then again, you can change the scale if you would like. And then from that, I think that's probably why I didn't do the tree variation. Let's see if I go back up into here. Yes, fit 0 to 1. Yes, let's see. Without the tree variation, let's see how big you are. Hmm, I don't know why that is the case. Probably because it's going to 0. It's going from 0 to 1. That is adding that. Maybe we can add that back, but then go into here. What is the min value? I have 0.5. So if I see if I change that to 0.5. No, there we go. I'll be 0.5, and then there you go. So then you have some variation using the tree variation, and then that is about it. But a cool thing about instancing is you want to make sure that you have pack and instance enabled so that Unreal will read this as a instance mesh. Other than that, this is all set up. The switch is also controlled. Both of these switches are controlled by this switch that I created right here. So that is the land generator. Now it's time to go into Unreal. Okay, in Unreal, there is not much that you need to do, but there are some cool things I would like to show you. So firstly, when you get into Unreal and you have the Houdini engine installed, when you enter the asset, you will be hit with this prompt. You want to select the smaller one, the one with lowercase land generator. That is the one that has the perimeters set up. So select this one. And when you get in here, you will see the perimeters I have set up. A proxy percent, ground resolution right here. And you can choose whether or not you want the high res or proxy. The dip deformation that I was talking about based off of the point. And then you have the ground noise. And you can select ground with trees, ground with no trees. And that will remove the instance, the tree instances. And over here you have the tree spread angle, tree random seed, random count, and selection ratio. There is a random select that is being used to randomize where the trees are placed. You can change the ratio if you would like in the random seed. The tree scales, frequency, all that jazz. And here you can see the instance mesh. Now, beforehand, you would be able to just drag and drop your instances or the mesh that you want instance. However, that has changed, but I found a way around it. Over here, you're going to, well, as you can see, you're going to have the instance mesh. If I can, the proxy geo will be the instance mesh component. And what you would like to do, if I can click on one, what you would like to do is actually, you can see I have a tree set up right here, but this will be the instance proxy geo. You would just go in, grab the asset that you would like to have spread across your scene, and drag it and drop it in this area, and it will replace the proxy geo. A thing that I found, a cool thing that I found out about Unreal is that when you save your scene, all changes that you've made, or at least on the proxies, the instance mesh side, not the proxy side, the instance mesh side, it saves it. So if you had like, I don't know, maybe you wanted like these small trees spread all throughout your scene at a higher frequency than the grass, you could just set up the grass first and then save your scene and then change the frequency. If I go back over here, change the frequency or all of these parameters to whatever you like, and then the instance mesh will change to the proxy geo again, but it will save the mesh that you have, or the previous proxy geo instance mesh, and the in the what am I trying to say? In the desired geo that you would like instance across your scene. It will save that setup, and then on top of that, it will spawn the new proxy, and you can put your new geo, whatever you want, trees, grass, on top of that. Okay, so with all that being said, that gives rise to a scene like this. Um, I can show you if I keep deselecting the object. If I have the ground consistency, so if I change the grass placement noise to say, I don't know, let's lock it and say 4. And it's cooking right now. So this is what you will see. It's a whole bunch of proxy geo. Right now I have the Unreal scale selected, so that's why the cubes are so big. That's because as you can see over here, that is about the size of the grass asset that I had. So I use the proxy geo to get a good visual. Okay, and so then you would go over to here. Maybe I'll do an example. Just click on the mesh component. It does move a little bit slow. You just take a, let's see, what grass would go well. So you would just take a piece, drag it over here, deselect, and the proxy geo is gone, and the grass is in this place. Same thing with the tree stumps that you see right here. You'll just take a tree, is it geometry, simplex, I don't know, what tree do we want? Maybe this one, just drag it and drop it. Let that load. And this is loading because of the tree asset. I forgot to reload the assets. But as you can see, it adds more trees. And over here, the Houdini static mesh, you should find the actual ground. Or it should have, let's see if I delete it. Yes. Now this should come in as a ground. As you can see right here, this is the ground from Houdini. It comes in and it creates a static mesh based off of the mesh that you imported. So once you have that brought in, it should be in the same area as the instance mesh. Want to browse to the asset and enable nanite, and that's how you will have nanite tessellation for the ground. Now, a little trick that I found with the ground material setup to make it look more real or give it more of a pop that you've seen inside of the render is a little technique. It's done in Houdini a lot. I really haven't seen too much of people doing this inside of Unreal. Maybe it's already done once you plug in the AO. However, I have not really seen anyone do it, but I feel like it should be done. If I could just find it. I think it's in the Fab Megaskin Surface. Use texture. Where's one right here? Okay, so this setup, the tiling, offset Y, offset X, and the OMF tiling, that is all from the preset that I got from the Quixel Megascans material asset. If I went up to here and went inside of the material asset, you can see over here it has the tiling set up. And so I basically took that and brought it into my own material setup and added texture, variation, a variation scale. This is to add the randomness in the ground that you see and remove the tiling effect. I think that works really well with like ground foresty type textures. Okay, so let's go back to that. So I have that whole setup for that, for the UVs. But the trick that I found was taking the AO from the ORM texture that you get, or from any texture that has an ambient occlusion texture map, taking that and multiplying that with the base texture. And I added a multiplier just to have more control over it. Taking that and multiplying it by the base color, for me, I found it gave more detail inside of the grass material. It made the colors pop more for me, and so that's why I implemented it. I can see if the what the grass looked like without it, or not the grass, the forest ground, what it looks like without it. Which it looks pretty decent. However, that being multiplied just adds a little bit more to it. Give it a little bit more realism. And then another thing I found inside of the materials, if I went back to, oh, that brought me all the way down to the engine files. Okay. See, I've been working around with character creator. Where is it at? surfaces, first floor. So at the material instance, you can see the parameters I have set up, AO multiply, but this is the bread and butter, I believe. Having the ground material being pushed up to 11, the magnitude to 11, gives it more of a pop. And in your renders, the ground will look more like a 3D mesh than like a 2D material. So that is basically all there is to this scene. Again, I will leave the project files for the HDA inside of the description. And thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you guys have found it informational or found the asset or the video useful. I will be dropping more videos like this. Let me know what you would like to see. I did see um, a couple of comments talking about the retargeting asset or retargeting features inside of Houdini. I am working on that. I tried to do the facial um, retargeting, and that has been a journey. um, I'm still working on that, so I will try to get that done. However, you may see a couple of different videos in between then as I try to get that figured out, as I do have a couple of projects I would like to do and complete in the meantime. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in later videos. Peace. However, you may see a couple of videos in between then, um, completing separate projects I have set up. I would like to do a couple of more how-to videos. Let me know if you would like more videos like this, whereas in between Houdini and Unreal, or you would like to see more Houdini focused videos. Um, I'm down to do either. You might see a couple of video. You might see a couple of videos that go in between the two. You may see some scenes that I create that are more in Houdini or probably fully in Houdini because I'm still trying to learn Houdini Solaris. So you may see some videos where I do scenes fully inside of Houdini and some scenes where I mix in between Houdini and Unreal. Um, I think for the large scale scenes like this, well, this is not really large scale, but the scene is pretty big. You can definitely do like a foreshadowing. scene of this scale. This may be more for Unreal, and I will keep a smaller scale scene for Houdini. However, there may be some toss up in between the two. I know using things like CopNet inside of Houdini makes it so having textures and creating your own textures and assets. I found that the rendering process for textures made inside of Houdini is a lot easier, so you may be able to get away with some large scale scenes inside of Houdini. However, that is um, based upon the scene that you have set up. That is not always the case. So again, however, you might see a couple of videos in between showing more. However, you may see a couple of videos in between um, going over stuff inside of Houdini or Unreal. Let me know if you would like to see more Houdini focused videos or Unreal focused videos. I am trying to learn both softwares. However, you may see me do a couple of scenes inside of Houdini because I'm still trying to learn Solaris and the whole workflow within Houdini. But I still like to dabble in between Houdini, Unreal, and use whatever I know inside of Houdini inside of Unreal to give rise to scenes like this. There are some cool things that you can do with Houdini and Unreal, um, especially when you use techniques like vertex painting to give rise to more complex scenes. I'm thinking about in a later version of the land generator, um, having it like a bullying, like break up the ground. So like maybe if you wanted floating islands or something along the sort, you can do that, which would be pretty easy. Not pretty easy. It would be it's doable, especially with vertex painting. It is doable. Um, vertex painting would be more for the materials and identifying the breakup areas, and where to place the materials for the breakup areas. But yeah, there's a lot you can do. Alrighty, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you guys found it I hope you found it informational. Uh, and peace. Anyways, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you found it informational, and I hope you found the asset useful. In other use cases, it can be used for more than a forest scene. However, that is the vision I had for it when I was creating it. So I like to see some of the creative things you guys do with the asset, and maybe you can even make it better. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great one. Peace.